Welcome to 10 Talks, real conversations for champions with champions, where a champion life is a 10 life. Thank you for joining our team today. I'm Carlette Patterson, your head sports life coach at the Life Training Academy, and it's our desired outcome to share our passion for sports life coaching by training you to live a 10 life. You and your life matter. Let's get coached. Hi team, welcome to 10 Talks Conversation today. It is my pleasure to introduce you to a true champion in life, and just want to share with you that if you're curious about how to really go from good to great, or how to start a dream or a vision, this conversation is all about saying yes to yourself, to the things you're passionate about, to the things you want in life, and really how do we get through those performance barriers or that fear that we have. And Greg, who is the equestrian coach at Auburn University, he is going to take you through his story and really just encourage you to make sure you're going for it. Be that champion. So if you would like to get coached in your life to be able to make those dreams become your reality, it would be our honor. You can go to lifetrainingacademy.com to find a coach, or if you like some of our online courses, or even if you're interested in becoming a certified sports life coach, go to meq10.com so that you can start figuring out how to turn your dream into a reality. Enjoy our conversation. Hi team, welcome to 10 Talks. Today's conversation is all about champions. It's all about champion teams, and our guest today is a true champion. He is a champion from an equestrian perspective, and I had the honor of being able to be his team and his sports life coach. He's got an amazing story. Before Greg and I go into just the power of story, I want to share a bit about the power of relationships. Because as we talk about really how to lead these champion lives, I want to talk about how we get connected to champions. So Charlie Turner Thorne is the basketball coach at Arizona State University, and I was her sports life coach, have been. It's been 15 seasons that we've been together. And Melissa Llewellyn, who was the golf coach at ASU as well, said, "Hey, Charlie, what are you doing?" Charlie told her about having a sports life coach, and Melissa said, "Hey, I want that as well." So I started coaching Melissa for 5 years at Arizona State, and then she took the job at Auburn. And when she moved to Auburn to be the golf coach at Auburn, she went to her athletic director, who was Jay Jacobs, and he said, "Hey, I would love to offer this to anyone in our athletic department that would like sports life coaching." And so that's how Greg and I got connected. And I just want to show you the power of relationships, because it started with me coaching at Arizona State 15 years ago, and then being able to coach more people, and those people all saying, "Hey, this works for me. Let's get connected." And as much as we are in competition in sports, we are always for each other. And I think that's such a winning strategy for relationships. How can we help each other, coaches, everybody, just be their best and get better and better? So that's today. You're going to get to hear our conversation about champion teams, how to go for being a champion yourself, and how to create champion teams. So Greg, welcome to 10 Talks. This is a total 10 moment to have you sharing your story. And let's start with you just, telling us a bit about your story.
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing everybody looks at is I'm heavily invested in horses. That's pretty much all I've ever been. I got the love of horses from my mom. She was always passionate about horses. She couldn't stay in it, very heavily in my youngest years because they were finishing college. My dad got his master's and PhD, so they were we were broke as he was going through graduate school and taking his first jobs. And that actually landed us in Auburn. A lot of people know that I've been at Auburn a long time. What some people don't realize is that I'm really an Auburn kid. I wasn't born in Auburn. I was born in Arkansas, but I did a lot of growing up here. So this is very much, you talk about family and roots. This is where my roots are. And I love this town. I never thought I'd be back here because horses it's not a big industry around here. And I had gotten back to Alabama, but it was just a little hard to make a living here. And I just had my second kid, and I was about to move back to Oklahoma. And I talked to a guy that I trained with out there, and he said, "Absolutely come back." And we were going to do that. And then Auburn called, and they said, "Hey, we want to do something with our equine program. Would you come back?" And I didn't want to get out of training then. I was a professional, and I was young, and I thought I didn't want to change that. But at the same time, I told my wife, I said, to be able to raise our kids in Auburn, this isn't going to come open again in our lifetime. And so we came back just on a leap of faith, and it wasn't a very high paying job, but we were back in Auburn, and she was a school teacher. And I met my wife. I mean, Sandy's always been in horses. We both rodeoed, and we met at the high school rodeo finals. We were horseback when we met, so I guess we will always be in horses. But we got back here, and through time, there was a group of girls wanted to start an equestrian team, and it was kind of a newer program in athletic ranks. And I don't know if the first team had even ever gone varsity at the country when we started ours, but one did shortly after.
What was the year that you started, Greg?
96.
Okay.
And the kids, as you know, and recruits now, were born in 2004. So it's been around a while. So we were a club team for 6 years. Went varsity in 2002, and that was a long, tough years. And I think if there's anything that we talk about doing stuff in our story, I wish I would have had I wish I would have had a life coach to maybe make me plan a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I did, and it was something that I heard a speaker say one time, and I feel like that's something, I don't know if I had it as a gift or as a curse: when you don't know what to do, start. And that's pretty much how I did everything, just start. And so we did. We kind of built an equestrian program out of the ground from nothing. And our very first practice, we had some brood mares out there. I got some of those up that I knew had been broken. I called my mom and I said, "We're starting a team. Bring every broke horse you've got." And my wife hauled her horse out there that night. And I mean, it was literally how we started our team. Some girls that had their horses boarded at barns. We just hauled them in and started practicing at night, because at that time, I was managing the equestrian center. So I had a full-time job, had no assistants, no assistant coaches, nothing. And we did it that way.
Had horses.
I actually through time, as we got a big horse herd for the team, and we used them in teaching and on the equestrian team, I was shoeing all the horses for free and buying the shoes. And I look at all these people now. I've got a full-time director of the center. I've got a full-time facilities person. I've got 2 assistant coaches, a director of operations. I've got 2 farriers, and I thought, there was a time when it was just me, and I could never go back to those years. There's no way I could live through it again. But
that's why you want to do it when you're young, right? So you have
passion, absolutely. Passion and dreams are everything. You don't even have to hit them. It's just striving for them is really the magic of life.
Well, so Greg, you've taken us from shoeing horses and starting out with a dream. I really love that winning strategy of saying yes. I mean, so many times we hear opportunities or we hear an idea that we're kind of interested in. And team, those of you listening, I just want to encourage you. Winning strategy number 1, say yes. Say yes to yourself, say yes to your dreams, say yes to your passion, and really connect with people who can encourage and support you in that journey. And so, Greg, as we just dive into this journey of yours, tell us how many championships you have. Tell us, I mean, it's an incredible story, and I want the team to get to kind of go through that with us.
Well, we've won 6 national championships. We've also won multiple SEC championships. We've got 90 All-Americans since they started counting All-Americans in our sport. And that's the one thing that we really do in recruiting is we talk about building a team of champions, not just a champion on a team. And so everybody has to buy into that to make it here. So the one thing from having nothing when we started the team is a little bit of a blessing now, because we still work really hard. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something that I do. Not everybody buys into it. It doesn't work for them, but we do a lot of physical labor out there, not just the workouts. We work out extremely hard. We're actually housed with football. It's just equestrian and football, same strength coaches. So our workouts are pretty intense. We practice a lot. We got a facility right on campus, and we just got brand new facilities next year. I hope sometime you can make it this way so you can see them. I think you would be, for your part in that, you'd be really proud, and you'd be proud of, because you know what those girls did in all those years.
Well, and we were talking about that dream when I was at Auburn coaching with your team and everything. It was like, I mean, that's what's beautiful, is that it's come to fruition, the things that we were talking about many, many years ago.
It is. I mean, you talk about saying yes. Everybody said I was crazy. Everybody said there's no way you're going to do it. You'll never make that team varsity. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. I was told that so many times. The only two people that believed, I don't even know if they believed in me, but they stuck with me, were my mom and my wife, Sandy, and Coach Pat Dye. He was a friend of mine and, famous football coach here. And, those are the only ones that really just didn't say I was crazy. Well, they may have said it quietly, but they stood there.
Well,
And
we all need a champion team around us to
yeah,
love
the
and support
best,
us.
that's what I tell people. And I hope a lot of your viewers will take that as the best thing somebody can tell me is you can't do it. Well, then you hide and watch. That's just such a motivator to me if somebody says you can't. And
That's that competitive spirit.
maybe that is. I don't know. Sometimes it's a painful one, but I do think that's when if you don't know how to do it, but it's a dream, just start.
Yeah.
Just start.
Well, and Greg, I want to talk about, I know you were my first equestrian team, my only equestrian team that I've ever had the honor of being the sports life coach for, you, your coaches and your team. And I learned so much. And what was so important that I really valued and want to speak today about is really just every person on your team, every girl that comes to Auburn, she knows she's coming into a team of champions and champion teams, and they are a champion themselves, or they wouldn't even be qualifying to be in a D1 program like your own. And yet all of them don't get a ride. I mean, there's certain numbers, there's equestrian's a whole thing I didn't know anything about, and I was so respectful of the way that you got these large number of girls to be able to really be a teammate when equestrian isn't all about team, and you've made it that. So I think you're a great model and really want you to share that with us, because a lot of times in business and in sport, we talk team, but we kind of go to our champions and we just let them carry it, or you're nothing like that. And you're such a different model. So let's talk about that.
Well, it may even be an advantage in our sport that it's so individual, because they don't need us to play. And that's some of the other sports. I mean, a basketball player, if they don't go to the NBA, they got to have a college team. Football needs a college team. They need a college team. These girls can compete at the highest venues all around the world as an individual. So they've got to want to buy into the team. This is only 4-year window they can be like that. Our Olympic team doesn't stay and practice together, that hard. So this is their only way to do that. So I got to find those that are going to buy into that. But being willing to put 39 of the girls ahead of yourself is not an easy thing. And that's something a lot of people are surprised. They hear the number 39. You got to remember that we're the largest, or 40, it's 40 girls on a roster. You got to put the other 39 ahead of yourself. We're the largest women's roster at Auburn. I guess as far as just one sport goes,
Right.
Sometimes track will get up in there close, but typically next to football, which is 120 something, we're the second largest team at Auburn. And so it's a lot of them. And so they do have to share the load, and they do have to buy into that. But we've got a lot of them that through time have done that. Now they leave with not only a diploma in their hands, but hopefully way more empowered, and they have multiple championship rings on their fingers.
Well, so out of those 40 girls, how many ride? Take us through just that journey. That was fascinating to me.
Well, that would depend on, if it's going to be a conference meet, then it's going to be, our top starters, and we've got 20 countable rides, but some of them will ride in 2 events. So, you may have 15 different girls out of that 40 that are competing that weekend. We do try to spread the load out and get others in. Some know their role is they won't ever be a starter. They might get in some scrimmages and stuff, but their contributions are just as much. The greatest one that we've gotten, I guess, I lose track of time. I guess she would have come in back after you had been working with our team, but is Morgan McQuay. Morgan McQuay was shortly into her freshman year. She came and sat in my office, and she said, "Coach, I know where my real role is here." And I said, "What is that?" And she was already having some looking at some possible surgeries coming up, and so the working out, practicing that intensely was kind of hard anyway. So she said, "It isn't going to be from the back of the horse and I'm going to help you win championships. It's working in the barn." Wow. And she put so much time into that barn. I mean, it was unbelievable. And it got to where like players coming in wouldn't even ask like Coach Brazel, and then what bridle should I put on this horse or whatever. They'd ask Morgan. And she made that her deal, and she was a huge part of our national championships. And so she's an extreme example of knowing that. And when Coach Brazel was on the team, she was a leader like that, hard worker. So we made an award called the Brazel Workhorse Award when she was on the team. Well, after Morgan came through, Coach Brazel then years later had become a coach for me. Yeah. And with her blessing, we changed it to the McQuay Workhorse Award. And
so I have goosebumps. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great testament to me, but it's also still, it's fun to watch somebody, Jess has been growing up since she was probably 6, I would imagine, but Coach Brazel, and but yet just to see her kind of grow up and be able to change that, like that, it was a good moment, it was a great moment for us.
Well, and Greg, that's a championship commitment, is to be able to know that you've got to put 20 people ahead of you when you're used to being somebody that is number one. And that happens so many times in our life teams, is that, how do we go from being a starter and, really important and getting to a level that we've dreamed of. I mean, so much in equestrian, maybe they haven't dreamed of coming to Auburn, but so many times in sport or in business, you dream of that position that you want. And then when you get there, it's so much different. And, the expectations, it's hard on our ego. It's hard on our spirit, on our soul, and really just finding a purpose bigger than us. And being a contributor. How do you authentically, and I know it's authentic because I did have the honor of working with your girls, it's authentic that they know they're a contributor, even if they're not getting playing time, to put it in my language of sport. So how do you do that?
I don't know. Well, we recruit that way. We do. And some don't make it. I mean, we lose some too that, that it just isn't fitting their style. And I know you've been in the basketball world a lot. And I mean, if it's true, I heard that that's how Larry Bird changed teams in college, that he didn't like the team mentality. Right. And so at Auburn, if, you would just have to go, I mean,
well, it's culture.
And it's working for us. And nobody would deny how great Larry Bird was, but he wanted a different style in college. So I think that's what everybody has to find that. So we do recruit that way. The other thing is, going back to, we don't shy away from hard work. And it's something that a lot of, and this through time I've watched, where people get into where they think a quote or watching a video makes them so much better. You still got to put in the work. Yeah. And, I've always said a lot of people really have the will to win. They just don't have the will to prepare. And that's where just really, what is they say that, opportunity just oftentimes shows up with in coveralls. And we do a lot of work originally because we had to. We didn't have help. So, I mean, if we wanted an arena, we had to build it, I mean, one of the stories when I got, raised the money to build an arena, and the girls and I were going to build it together. Well, there was some guys in our building science club. They said, hey, we could use that for like community service, something like that. Project, yeah. And a couple of our guys come out and help you. I said, heck, yes, they could. So they did. And they went in, cell phones weren't so big back then, but they came out there, and all of a sudden then we had, 40 of these, pretty college girls out there. Well, when we took a lunch break, they got on the phone. They started calling their other friends. They stood there taking up money. Their club enrollment doubled right then after lunch, and they had people signing up, but you had to pay to join the club to help. So we had a lot of fun with the building science group. It was great exposure for us, as far as that group started staying with us for a long time, and we built a lot of stuff with them. They use it for kind of their own knowledge, but we were using their hard work and their talents, and building stuff side by side. So we built, until we got into the nice facilities we are now, we were building everything ourselves. Yeah. And there's an arena actually that I'm looking at right now. We're probably going to tear it down and put it back ourselves, change it up. And so this will be something that this group does, and that they'll own that then. Yeah. When a bus comes up the driveway, when a team flies in, they get on the charter bus, they come up here. When they pull up our driveway, it is our house. And that's how each girl's feel. They've painted it. They've worked on it. They've built it. It's not a slogan for them. Right. So when you talk about protect this house, that's that would be a hard thing. I don't know how a coach would put that in a program now. I get asked that by a lot of them. You know, we would love to have that culture, maybe through time, and maybe you just have a couple key players, but just start small and build on it. You know, a lot of the stuff that we're doing every day, players get sent to us from other teams as a punishment, you know, and they have to work with us. And it's just a normal day in the life of equestrians. So uh, I think people really would crave that. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
I really think these players would love seeing their paint job on some of their facilities. It's our house now, you know.
Well,
And,
you have a sense of accomplishment rather than just kind of showing up. You've earned it, which
mhm,
is something that's been taken away from a lot of people. Everything's just been given to them rather
correct,
than them feeling
correct,
the sense of accomplishment and really that purpose. Like I mattered, they needed me. I love the story of, you teaming up, power of team with the construction side of things, and all of a sudden it being, relationships and fun and
right.
purposeful.
Well, I mean, having a vested interest, a
Mhm.
true vested interest, it's unparalleled. I mean, to be able to uh, have that instilled in them is incredible. And I have like parents who, you know, call me and they're like, you know, Coach, I got to tell you, the first thing we came to Auburn, we were going to go to dinner with our daughter. Said, no, you got to come out to the barn. I want you to see what I built. And
Yeah.
he said, like she had built it herself. I know good and well she didn't, but that's how proud they are of it.
Yeah.
You know, everything out there. This the parents that say the first thing we have to come do is see what they built.
Mm. Well, and I think that's the winning strategy. What are we building with our lives? And so
Right.
many times, sport is a very big part of it. We talk about our 3D model personally, professionally, and philanthropically. And really that's what we want to talk about is just how to build this life that is about being a champion ourselves as well as championships in life and having the courage to go for it. We've talked about, saying yes. We've talked about a support team. I want to
Mhm.
talk about just, you as a head coach really empowering your assistant coaches. That was one thing that was a 10 for me in terms of, you said, Carlette, we want you working with us. And number one, we want you working with our assistant coaches because they're going to take over. Like you
Yeah.
as a head coach wanted to empower and educate and really get your assistants set up for success. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I actually, that I was running, as soon as you said building a sport team, I thought, well, I hope we get to talk about that because that's the one thing that I guess I tell people all the time when they ask me advice on that is you have got to be willing to hire people better than you.
Mm,
I mean, you kind of hear that, but it's a little intimidating. You know,
yeah.
you kind of want to be the person, you know, but the truth is every really great person that you see speak, they're a CEO that has done something in private, they will tell you they are not the smartest one sitting in that boardroom. And they, you know, and they would think if I am smarter than that person, I need to fire that one and replace them. I mean, you know, there's no point in having them if they're not smarter than you. I've got, you know, two coaches and Coach Manili and Coach Braswell that are incredible. Now it's easy to beat me on the hunt seat side, but you know, I was good on the Western side. And it was really hard for me to learn to get in the background. And I'd had different, you know, Western coaches, but I had learned to stay in the background. With Coach Vanili, it was one day I know she was frustrated about something, and you know, I was talking to, and I said, "Something you realize. I mean, I don't just say that you're the best in the country at this in college on the Western side, but I said." I know from having been in this a long time. I said, I mean, you're a better coach than I ever was.
Mm,
And thank goodness. I mean, I don't worry about those girls on that side. I don't worry about. There's an overall thing that you always have to be good at, and if you're a CEO or you know, a head coach or starting a business with only 3 people in
mhm,
it, you've got to be able to manage that. You can call that the CEO position if you want, but
right.
just keeping your dreams in front of them is really your biggest job. If you hire people better than you, or you incorporate people better than you, but they can see the dream,
Mm,
then you're good.
yeah.
Then you're good. And I also then like it to sort of develop into their dream. I'm
Mhm.
big on that. You know, we're doing our team handbook beginning of the year, and I don't know if they get it or not, but this whole thing, every rule in our team handbook was done by girls on the team. You know, I didn't make them up.
Right.
You know, there's two things in there that were kind of mandated that we put in there that are athletic department things. So we included those in our handbook, but everything else in there is theirs.
Yeah.
I said, I actually made 2 rules a little bit easier than that.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to trap too many people, but I've always really believed in that. I believe in youth, and I know we like to make fun of uh, kids nowadays. Well, that's been going on forever. The quote about kids don't want to work, they don't have responsibility, they don't study, they'd rather just hang out with their friends, they have no respect for elders, and that was like Cicero, 300 BC, I think. I can't quite remember when he said that, but it was that's been going on forever.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these kids, they're much better prepared for the future. The only thing that I do say, I am against cell phones right now.
Mhm.
Being used too heavily, and I couldn't ever understand why. I thought, how are cell phones really hurting them that bad? I can see the social media problems and stuff, but what I finally realized is because we're not letting them grow up. We're answering everything for them,
Mhm.
and I think that's something that's hard to do. I learned a lot working with you. Is sometimes you would just, I would throw something out and you just say, that's not in their paradigm. I mean, and you would just, and I would, well, get it in their paradigm, Carlette, make it work. But I did realize that somehow as parents, you've got to quit answering their questions all the time. But understand 2 things. When you don't answer their question when they call you, it's going to cost you time and money. Well, that's our job as parents. But if we would let them grow up,
Mm.
they are. I really think this generation, they're smarter than us.
They are. They are
I
very
think
smart.
they're more
Yes.
adaptable than us. I
Yeah.
think they're. I don't think they're. I think in some ways they can be tougher than us because some of the stuff that really is scary and that I
Yeah.
dislike about the world right now doesn't faze them as much.
Well, they've been
But
through a lot, I mean,
yeah,
much more than we have. So, I mean, that's what their resilience in terms of really understand. I mean, it's a
mhm,
different world. We didn't have social media. We didn't have
right,
just the things that they do.
right.
It's powerful.
The best gift that I had is I just couldn't get all my questions answered, so I had to muddle through it. So I'm kind of used to doing that. Well, I think we need to just let them do that because they will be better. I mean, they really can make this a better world. And I think right now, um, my athletic director would give the credit to somebody else. It was some mentor that he had talked to, and this is what gives me a lot of hope about what we're going through right now. And I just keep saying, you know, every day we can keep working to get a little bit better. So when we're sort of on the other side, whatever that looks like and what it's going to be, I just hope we're better as a society. Or we're going through a lot of pain for nothing. But he said that this mentor told him that the troubling thing is we're so used to going through school. You get the assignments and you study, you do the homework, you take the test. You get the assignments, you learn all the material, you take the test. Well, all of a sudden now in life, we have just been thrown the test. We've had no material, we've had no study, and so we're going to find out what we learn after this test.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting in a reverse world right now,
Yeah.
and we're going to learn our lessons after this test.
Mm.
So at least while we're in the test, let's just be the best we can be, and then I
Yeah.
think then I think our answers will come out okay.
Well, let's talk about how to be the best that we can be in terms of, so many of us like saying we're a champion or want to go for champion. And you and I
Mhm.
both know it takes a lot of failure and a lot of learning. It takes a lot of vulnerability. It takes a lot of things that are not things that we wish had to happen.
Mhm.
So, take us through a bit of your life lessons, words of wisdom that you have learned from the things that haven't gone well for you, the vulnerability you've had to do. I mean, that's the gift that we get by getting to have this conversation with you.
Well, one thing that goes, you talked about vulnerability, and I think that my wife Sandy has been huge for me. And I do tell people you've got to have some people that you can talk to, because I cannot take the insecurities that everybody has.
Yeah.
Everybody, and they have self-doubt. Everybody does. And the one thing that I've learned, some of the people that I thought were the most secure, you just
Mhm.
in them, that I have through time and actually in very honest conversation, I've had those very same people tell me how insecure they are.
Right.
All that's a mask. So don't get fooled by people. Listen, everybody is going through it. And I think that was something that my wife Sandy and I remember it starting really heavily when we were young and I was in the training business. She was really big for me in killing my self doubt.
Okay.
And I think that everybody needs to have that type of person somewhere. Doesn't have to be a spouse, doesn't have to be a best friend, but find maybe a mentor or something like that.
Well, and that's very much what we do in coaching, right? We are for the person. We really coach them up and train them. And that's the gift of being to work with head coaches, CEOs. It's pretty lonely at the top, right? Like we're supposed to, once we make it or get to the top or even a championship, we're supposed to have all the answers and have it. And that's the gift we get in coaching. You know, me getting to be a coach to head coaches and to CEOs is like, you have some space to talk about some things that you really can't talk about with other people because you're supposed to be able to lead. And whenever you're leading, which all of us are leading in our lives, right? Whether it's a home that we're leading or a family or just our own personal lives, you know, we need to be a champion leading ourselves first. And that takes some training and some skills. And, you know, we don't just show up with a playbook to really know exactly how to do this. So what have you learned from a leadership perspective?
Well, you know, it's funny. I got a call from a guy the other day, and he was one of my friends who was a good mentor for me, was speaking at his university. And he said, you know, he gave me his name. He said, you probably could give me some insight. And I was extremely quiet when I was younger, extremely quiet. I mean, it wasn't anything wrong with me. I mean, I just didn't ever say anything. I was perfectly happy with that. But when I started this team, I had to do some things different. So I had, through, you know, he's from Clemson, from Auburn. We had mutual friends. His was a Clemson football player, and mine was an Auburn football player, and they wound up playing for the Buffalo Bills at the same time. And so that's how we met. Well, we just became good friends, but he was a big reader. He was a fundraiser, and you know, now he's a motivational speaker. But his name's Bob Fusey, and Bob used to always, he got me reading books. And usually when I would get mad, and he even coined it a Greg moment every now and then, when when somebody's just wanting to blow off steam. And he said that he would just always, he never really got into it much. He just said, "What are you reading right now? What are you reading right now?" And you can get a lot through books. You can get an amazing mentors, and life coaches are just, and they're pennies on a dollar for what you get out of it. You know, I mean, it's just, you've got to hang around people like that. I had another guy that's a mentor, and one of the things that I stole from him was, he said, feed rich people. He said, I mean, just, you may not be able to get Tim Cook to sit down at lunch with you, but who is in that field? Where is somebody that you can actually take to lunch? Not them buy, but nearly everybody expects the rich person in the room to buy the lunch. It's a huge impression that maybe a young person, a young executive, college student can take a business person to lunch and make sure that they give their credit card to the waitress early, because they're not going to win the argument. So just give it to them early. Said, just whatever this is, pay for it. Yeah. And that's what he taught me to do. He said, just before you even sit down, make sure the waitress or waiter has your credit card and never brings a bill. And because you won't win the argument with them. So.
Well, I love these winning strategies.
I gained a lot by picking people's brains. You know what was funny is, it was so impressive with some, they were glad to help. But some of these people, because, you know, right now it would be okay, but back then, I mean, I had no money. And it was such a big deal to them. I didn't even have to ask for a second meeting. We were having another lunch. And, you know, and I was going to lose the argument, but it's how you get a mentor then. They know it means that much to you, that you on your small budget pay for lunch when they have an unlimited budget. It was big. So that was one of the things, feed rich people. And so rich people may be different, whether it's money, you know, whether it's just success in what they're doing. That's just something to do. It's just really work your way up to, you know, spending time with people, and that's just take them to lunch.
Well, and Greg, you talk about a really valuable component is just to really, no matter what you have, invest it wisely. And whether it's your time, your energy, your emotions, your money, whatever it is. And so many times people think, well, you know, I can't do that until I've made money, or I can't do, you know, again, it's that waiting that really stops so many dreams. And, you know, going for it when it's really
excuses that what we're talking about, you know, this is something I can tell you this is personal. This is a personal deal. And in fact, I brought when you were in Auburn one time, I had my oldest daughter was in visiting, and Tony was, I mean, she's always been a smart, uplifting person, but she'd been working in the home health industry, and she had a lot of ideas of like a blog post and things like that she wanted to do. And so she came with me to that meeting because she was in visiting and she was going to go out to the barn or something. So really didn't have anything to do. I said, can she just sit in there with me? And it was during the holidays because none of my assistant coaches were there or anything. You were just going to meet with me. And he said, sure. Well, she sat in there taking notes during all this. And this is literally, you moved her off of sitting still. And this is her book. She wrote this book and she attributes you to moving the needle to getting going. She just felt so empowered after that. She still has her notes from that session. It was my session with you, but she was over there taking notes. And then she has written for corporations. But this book, How to Grow Older, she had been taking from what she saw the older people that they wished they had done things different. And she said, I just didn't want to see more people go through that. And there are so many things that you need to be set up financially. There's a lot of logistic stuff in there too, but you really need a game plan. Nobody gives you a game plan for how to live life, and you don't live it with regrets. And that was the biggest impression she had. I mean, because she's, 30 something when she writes this book, and what does she know about being old? It was from being in that business. And she said, I just don't want to see more people go through regrets. And that is, but it was through you that she got that. And she's been able to help a lot of people now.
Well, that's a huge 10 moment. I have great gratitude for just, we started our conversation being all about relationships and everybody just being for each other and connecting and constantly, how can we help? That's really that philanthropic side. Is a lot of times we say philanthropy and people think it's money. And instead we want to really open it up to, it's about giving hope. Right. I mean, just constantly, we can give hope to anyone. It doesn't, it doesn't cost us a dime to give hope, to give kindness, to give compassion and wisdom. I mean, being able to mentor and learn from each other. I mean, it's so rich. Our lives are so rich whenever it's purpose driven and passion driven and relationship driven. And so, Greg, this has been a huge 10. As we wrap up our conversation, what would you say are your words of wisdom when it comes to going for what you want, being a champion, and building champion teams?
Well, I do think dreams are everything. I mean, and don't be afraid to. I mean, it's aiming low and hitting is so much worse than aiming high and missing. And so, don't be afraid to put it way out there. Don't worry about how to do it right then. You just put the big dream out there and start. It'll shift, it'll turn, it'll get better, but put the big dream out there and just start going. Don't try to wait for all the lights to turn green. That's never going to happen. Just start going. And I would say, get mentors, get books, get a life coach, get people that you can trust, get people that the self-doubt, all the things that you're going to go through, the questions you're going to have. Everybody's got them. So you got to have people that can get you through that just, listen, fine. And sometimes you just need to hear somebody that went through something worse than you did. It's not a misery loves company as much as you got to realize, okay, other people have gotten through it. So I think those are the things that are important. Surround yourself with good people. And if you're building a business, a team, or anything like that, really, really, don't just surround people that like your weaknesses. You definitely want people that have strengths where you're weak, but make sure that they're still fit into your mission, that they're still relatable to you. It's going to be a working relationship. You've still got to be relatable to each other, but do find people better than you. It's not to me, that is just not a negative. It's not a slight that's how you get forward. The national championships that I've won is because I have people better than me that work with me. That's it. We've got kids on the team better than I ever was riding. And I think about every coach can tell you that, so just get past that. Be the one that gives opportunities to people. And they'll do it for somebody else too. But but get people better than you.
Mm. That is beautiful. And the other thing I just want to add in terms of those great winning strategies is stay on the journey, right? Like it's one thing to start, and we're going to be, this is what sports is so good about, is that we are
Right.
going to get knocked down so many times. And,
Mhm.
in basketball, get the rebound, right? Like take that shot and get the rebound and reset. I mean, no matter what, just know, as we talk about dreams and champions, those are words that everybody uses, but boy, to
Right.
really become one,
Yeah.
you're going to be knocked down many, many more times than the successes that we get to hear. So
Well, in the
important
horse
to stay
world,
on the
that's it.
journey.
I mean, you get bucked off, you get back on the horse, and I know sometimes after you say, I don't know, maybe I need the other horse over there or something. It's if you're gonna straddle a big dream, it's gonna buck you off a lot. So don't change horses. Don't start looking for the easier horse. Just keep getting back on that one.
Yeah, I love that. So Greg, this has been a huge 10. I love reconnecting with you. Thank you for the honor of being a part of your team and just your coaches and your life. And, what a champion you are. And thank you for just blessing us with this conversation.
Thank you. Wonderful to
Okay.
get to connect with you anytime.
To be continued, team. Go out, make it a 10-day. Make sure that you're going for your dreams and being the champion in your own life, for your family, for the teams that you're playing on. And just remember, say yes, and those relationships really matter. And make it a 10-week. Thank you. Well, team, I loved every minute of that. I hope you did too. And Greg is such an inspiration and such an encouragement. And it's amazing to hear just the power of stories, starting at the beginning and where he took, where life took him and how he became a champion, not only in life, but in sport. You too have an amazing story, and you too have these dreams and things that you want. Let us be part of your team. Let us cheer you on. Let us encourage you. Let us coach you up so that you can be living that life that is a 10 for you. If you're interested, go to lifetrainingacademy.com. Or if you're interested in our MeQ courses, remember, MeQ is the intelligence of you figuring out who you are and what's important to you. We'd love to be able to connect with you and connect you to our team. Go to meq10.com. Thank you for being you. You and your life matter.